The metal screech of the train tracks was the last thing David ever heard. He stood there, right in the middle of the rails, staring directly into the blinding white light of the oncoming engine. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He didn't even flinch. His crew-cut hair didn't move in the wind, and his spectacles reflected the massive wall of iron charging toward him at 80 kilometers per hour. Just seconds before, he had been laughing. Now, he was waiting for the end. The driver pulled the horn, a deafening blast that echoed across the quiet station, but David remained as still as a statue in his dark blue jacket. It was a blistering Tuesday in Tanjung Town. The heat was the kind that stuck to your skin and made your head spin. Inside the local high school, David was sitting through his third period class. By all accounts, David was a normal kid. He wasn't the top of his class, but he wasn't failing either. He didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have many enemies, and usually spent his weekends playing video games or helping his parents. Suddenly, David raised his hand. He told his teacher that something had come up at home. He needed to leave immediately. The teacher, seeing the serious look behind David's glasses, didn't press for details. She signed the slip, and David walked out. The security guard at the front gate watched him leave. He noticed David looked focused, almost like he was on a mission. There was no sign of sadness, no sign of a boy planning to end his life. He was just David, walking toward the train station 2 kilometers away. It was a walk he had done 100 times before. But this time, something was different. By the time he reached the main road, David wasn't alone anymore. Witnesses started coming forward later that day. A woman working at a roadside stall remembered seeing them clearly. She told the police that David wasn't being followed, he was walking with someone. It was a woman, maybe in her late 20s or early 30s. She was small, with long hair that reached her waist. She wore a simple white blouse and a blue skirt. The stall owner mentioned how strange it was because David and this woman were talking and laughing. They looked like old friends caught up in a pleasant conversation. But the woman didn't look like a student. She looked older, her face marked with subtle wrinkles around her eyes and mouth, yet her lips were a striking, deep rosy red. As they walked past the town's few CCTV cameras, the mystery deepened. The footage was grainy. This was years ago, when cameras were more of a suggestion than a security measure. In the footage, you can see the blur of David's dark blue jacket. Beside him is a smaller figure in white and blue. They stop occasionally, David gesturing with his hands as if explaining something, and the woman nodding, her red lips occasionally curving into a smile. When they reached the station, they sat on a wooden bench. The station was a quiet, third-class stop. Only the slow local train stopped there. For 5 minutes, the cameras caught them in deep conversation. David seemed captivated. He leaned in close, listening to whatever this woman was whispering. Then, she stood up. She touched his shoulder, whispered one last thing, and walked away toward the exit. David didn't follow her. He stood up, went to the counter, and bought a single ticket. David walked onto the second platform. He didn't wait for the local train he had bought a ticket for. Instead, he began walking south, down the ramp and onto the gravel of the tracks. The station master shouted at him, asking where he was going. David didn't turn back. He walked with a purpose, his boots crunching on the stones. A few hundred meters down the line, an express train, the kind that doesn't stop at small stations, was barreling toward him from the opposite direction. The driver of the express train saw the boy in the blue jacket. He slammed on the brakes and leaned on the horn. The sound was enough to wake the dead, but David didn't even flinch. He looked at the train, stepped directly into its path, and waited. The impact was instant. There was nothing left but fragments. Later that evening, as the sun went down and the investigators arrived, they found something that chilled them to the bone. In the pocket of David's shredded blue jacket, they found a clean, white envelope. Inside were 7 $1,000 notes. Brand new. The serial numbers were in perfect sequence. In an era where the average hourly wage was barely $60, a high school kid was carrying a fortune. To this day, the case remains open in the files of Tanjung Town. The woman in the white shirt and blue skirt was never found. No one ever claimed the $7,000. Some say that on hot summer days, if you walk the path from the school to the station, you might see a young boy in a blue jacket walking with a small woman. They look happy. They look like they are sharing a joke. But if you see them, don't look at her lips. And whatever you do, don't take the envelope.